Podcast. My opinion. Podcast. All nine niggas.
All right, we are back with another episode of In My Opinion Podcast. I got my boy Rudy Ortiz to the left.
Hello.
And the newcomer, Mr. Patrick Ford.
Hello, everybody.
If you guys don't know who Patrick Ford is, I want to first and foremost thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
I've been trying to get a comedy club owner on here for the past 2 seasons, so I'm going to end season 5 probably with you more than likely.
Look at that.
We're a squirrely bunch. It's hard to nail it.
Thank you.
Yeah. You guys are. If I don't see you at the clubs, I don't know where else to catch you guys.
right.
Yeah,
I'm
actually, I got to come back to the club in the daytime.
This is the only place you can find me right here. Yeah.
So
catch me on premises.
I don't know if you follow us or not, P.
I've taken a look.
But we do this thing called This or That. It's kind of to warm up everybody.
All right.
So I'll just go straight into the first one. It's this or that. You pick one or the other.
All right.
Right?
Go ahead. Hit me.
Wings. Are you doing bone in or bone out, and why?
Bone in. So you can do the whole.
Oh, you like that?
And you can nibble on the real little, crispy parts on the end.
Yeah.
On the nubs.
Okay.
Yeah, because you want to have something to show the world. Like, look what I just accomplished.
Yeah.
I just devoured that bird's arm.
And when you eat it like a hamster, just gnawing away at it.
Yeah, there you go. Rudy, what about yourself? You bone in or bone out?
You know, despite what I just said, I'm a bitch at heart, and I don't want to chip a tooth. So I don't want to risk it.
You can go faster with the bone out. You can be a glutton.
Right, just boom.
Right.
Pop. If I'm on the go, I can put something in my pocket. It doesn't feel weird. You know, it's just
having chicken wings in your pocket doesn't feel weird.
well, the bone in does, Patrick, but the bone out, it's just like tater tots. You know, it's all good.
Well, I will
So I'm a
say
bone out
I
guy.
agree with you. I'm bone in, but if I'm at Applebee's, at least out in the Central Valley after 9 p.m., it's half off appetizers,
That's fair.
and boneless chicken wings. So I can get chicken wings for like $4.
Is that at all Applebee's, or is that just Central Valley Applebee's?
I don't know if that's just Central Valley, so I don't.
I wouldn't be surprised. Central Valley, I know how you are.
Yeah, we're broke out there.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
All right, on the wings.
Yeah.
And only because I didn't realize there's so many people that like this. So, are you a flat person, or are you the drum or drumette?
Oh, that's a good one. I'll eat both. But my wife only likes the drumettes, so I get the other ones.
Oh, okay.
When I have to share. But when I get a set myself, I'll eat anything. Doesn't bother me at all.
But you'll go out of the way to order just drums?
No, I'll just take a mix, whatever they give me.
I only ask that because I'm going to answer first, Rudy, is I am a drum only person.
Okay.
Please don't put flats
That's
on
all
my
right.
shit. I will order. Most places charge you an extra fee for that, and that's fine because I feel like I'm getting more chicken. So that's the way I like to eat it. That's the way I go. Just recently came back from Vegas a couple weeks ago. Went to Hooters because we don't have Hooters out here no more. They got all shut down. And even though I had drums, I ordered a ghost pepper. Don't do that, people.
Ghost pepper chili
sauce.
on sauce?
Yes.
Oh,
on
no.
Sauce. Yeah, it was horrible coming in and it was horrible coming out.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I will say if you do that, just make sure that you have nothing to do the day afterwards.
Yeah, bro. Tabasco's good enough. You know, you don't got to go and eat.
So, Rudy, what you going with?
I'm going to go with drums because I do think that you get more meat on the drums, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You know, there's the meat that's around it, then that middle part in the middle of the bone, like in the middle of the whatever those two bones are that look like that, that is just chock full of white, fluffy meat. And the only thing that sucks about flats is that everybody hates them, so it's like they're always touching them to like move them out of the way and get the drums. So if you could withstand, 15 other dudes touching your drums or your flats, then you're good to go.
Right.
But I'm a flat dude.
Well, according to Patrick, his wife loves it, and I will say my girl loves the fucking flats too.
They're delicious.
And I went and ordered some at Save Mart, the ready-made stuff, and I asked for just the drums again because it was just for me. And they looked at me. They were like, "You're the first person we've ever had in here that orders just drums." And
Just drums.
And I was like, "What kind of weirdos do you have in here ordering flats, bro?"
Come on, man. It's
There you
fine.
go. That's
It's fine
majestic.
taste. It's fine dining. All right.
All right, we're going to get off the wings. We're going to go on candy. Now, I have this debate because sometimes I have people over my house and we have game night. And with game night, we bring candies.
All right.
And so are you a fruity candy person, Patrick? And fruity, I mean like
I know what you mean.
Skittles. You know what I mean? Or are you a chocolate person? You want Snickers and
100% a chocolate person.
there you go. See, I think we're agreeing upon a lot of shit. There we go.
I mean,
Rudy?
if I got a choice between like some Snickers and Reese's and Hershey's, which I love, versus maybe like some Sour Patches or some gummy bears, which I literally walked to the store last night just to buy 1 pack of gummy bears because I love the fruity joy that it brings into my life.
The real gummy bears, though?
It's the real guy, the Haribo, Haribo.
Whatever.
Those other ones, those are imposters, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll eat one of those or something, but I was never that kid. You know, I was like,
You were never a gummy bear guy?
never ate like sour worms. Fucking horrible. I hate those.
Dude, if you didn't like squishy, soury candy as a kid, you needed more hugs in your life.
I had all the chocolate. We actually had relatives, like my mother's cousins and stuff, worked at the Hershey factory.
Okay.
And when they come to visit our house, they'd bring me like a whole case of peanut butter cups or Hershey bars. I thought they had the coolest fucking job in the world, when I was like 10. Then later on, I felt like they were just some, assembly line drone.
I mean, it happens, They're part of the Hershey's family, though.
All right. It's like, you work at Hershey's? That is so cool. I'd rather do that than be a doctor.
Yeah, it's in their contract that they got to eat Hershey's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say I'm a chocolate person. I prefer chocolate, not saying that I won't eat some Skittles, but first and foremost, when I have these parties, I make sure, and that's why I brought it up, because everybody always asks me, "Where's the other stuff?" My friend loves cinnamon bears, and I was like, "Who the fuck eats cinnamon bears?"
When I was a kid, I did like Starburst, and I liked Lifesavers.
Which colors?
Okay.
I liked the lemon and lime colors best, and cherry. I didn't really like the orange. Yeah, the green, yellow, red.
They had green back in the day, huh?
I think so. Maybe only Lifesavers had green. Maybe they only had. Maybe their only citrus was the yellow. I don't know. But I like that. I like citrus coming, and I like a lemon flavored hard candy.
There we go.
That.
Like a lemon head.
Yes, exactly.
That was old
man.
school.
That I like.
They used to sell. I'm so old. I remember they was like 5 or 10 cents a pack
For a lemon head?
for lemon head packs.
Dude, how much was the newspaper? A nickel? A nickel for today's
Which I want to go
paper?
back real quick because I want to know what your favorite color of gummy berry is.
My favorite color gummy bear is green.
It's green.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. It tastes refreshing to
Is
me.
that lime flavor? Or is that apple flavor?
I want to say it's more of an apple flavor. I don't think the gummy bears have really like the traditional gummy bears. They never went into the citrus world.
Yeah.
I think red is just like cherry. Yellow has got to be like some sort of pineapple, maybe.
No, I think the clear is pineapple. That's my favorite.
Oh, okay.
one.
That's your favorite.
Yeah.
I always felt cheated. Like if I grabbed a Jolly Rancher or something that was green, I thought it was going to be lime, which is my absolute favorite flavor, and it's apple. I'm like, you fucking cheated.
Yeah, dude.
I was like,
They've conditioned us to associate green with lime.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's apple, guys.
Sometimes it's
I
apple.
don't mean to break your hearts, kids.
and that's just wrong.
right.
All right, fellas. Before we get to the real question, I got 2 more food questions, and this only came about because I recently went to Burger King, and I asked for mustard on my burger, and they upcharged me 30 cents.
You're kidding me.
And that fucking blew my mind that they're upcharging for. And then I go, well, can you take the ketchup off? And they go, yeah. And I go, so if I'm losing one condiment, putting on another one, shouldn't they? No, sir, that's not how it works.
There's probably a labor charge for removing ketchup too.
Right,
so
they gotta
extra
scrape it
30
off.
cents. Yeah.
Well, you know what though?
So my question, fellas, is I'll let you go first this
yeah.
time, Rudy. Is what dressings do you like on your burger?
For sure.
And you don't have to put them all on, but
Right.
which ones would you put on a burger?
I only care about one condiment on my burger and really on my hot dog too, and that is mustard. And I think they should have charged you more than 30 cents. They probably should have charged you like $1.25 because that's how important mustard is, and that's how much of a difference maker it is. I think ketchup is just, it's just like level 1 of condiments. Like you're not even trying. You know what I mean? Like have some adventures in your life. Now I won't go as far as horseradish. I definitely draw a hard line on horseradish, but hot mustard, relish, onions, all that stuff, but mustard being number 1.
Okay, let's
That's got to be
combine
my
them.
go-to.
Just because you kind of jumped over, the next question is for a hot dog too.
You have more condiment questions?
It was, what's the condiment for your hot dog?
Okay,
So it's
okay,
just
okay.
mustard then?
Right.
for you?
Just mustard. Just
So no
mustard.
sauerkraut,
Mustard,
no-
relish, and onions. Boom. For my hot dog all day.
Okay, there you go. All right, Patrick.
This
Burger
guy-
and
this-
hot dog.
Well, a burger I like, I like ketchup and maybe a little bit of mayo on the bun if I've got some lettuce and tomato on it as well. and this is very unpopular, and my wife hates this. And my wife says she will not sit next to me at a baseball game if I do this anymore. To put
Wow.
ketchup on my hot dog. She says that's just wrong. She said, first of all, you grew up in New York. You know what a hot dog's supposed to be.
Wow.
Ketchup does not go on hot dogs, but I do it anyway.
That's it.
I only like mustard in a few particular instances, like in a ham and cheese sandwich. I like a mustard, and a few other little things here and there. But I just, I know it's embarrassing because people are always looking at you when you're putting ketchup on your hot dog. It's just, you're wrong. And I know it's wrong.
You know the fact that you're from New York. I mean, I hear that all the time because you guys are supposed to. You guys are like the home of the hot dog. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You're like
Coney Island.
Yeah, you're like America's capital for hot dogs. But I'm not from New York, and even I knew. That mustard is the one and ketchup is not. So there must be some sort of understanding, like universal understanding that mustard is it. Mustard is the king of condiments.
Okay, I will answer for myself. A hamburger, mayo. I need mayo on it. I need mustard on it. I'll eat it with ketchup, but I don't really need the ketchup on there. And what I really don't need, and again, we've had this conversation many a times, is the reason why I hate In-N-Out, is don't put secret sauce anywhere near a burger near me. That is the grossest dressing that they've ever put on any hamburger. So
you got a lot of nerve.
I don't like Big Macs. I don't like In-N-Out. I don't like any of that stuff. As far as a hot dog, that's easy. It's just mustard. Will I eat it with ketchup? Maybe, but I would prefer it to have some mustard.
I know it's
wrong. I would like to put just a little bit of mayo if I can.
Yeah.
The fact that mayo and clear gummy bears are your favorites, it's concerning me, dog. You need some color in your life, man. You gotta shake it up a little bit.
I'm a simple dude, bro.
You're living a very beige life.
It's very pale.
All right. You guys ready?
We're ready.
Yeah, go for
All right, here we go. All right. Let's learn about you a little bit, Patrick.
Sure.
How long, to my understanding, you were doing comedy first, right? How long have you been doing comedy, and then when did you open up a comedy club?
Okay. I started comedy relatively late in my life, in my 40s, in like 2007 in L.A. And I did a comedy workshop with Judy Carter. Judy Carter's comedy workshop, right? You get up for like 8 weekends, 8 Wednesdays for 3 hours, and you get your tight 5 together. And then the debut showcase, the first time, this is like the first time ever on a stage. I'm on stage at the Hollywood Improv in front of 250 people.
Oh, there we go.
That's day one of comedy for me. Right? So then as I walk off stage, Vargas Mason says, I booked the big show on Sunday at the Comedy Store. I liked your set. Would you like to perform at the Comedy Store?
That's day one.
That's day one. So now my second set, now, of course, I'm not paid regular. It turns out it's a bringer show. Back in the day, this was during the lull when the store hadn't had its second
its renaissance
like it's having right now, right? So they would take the main room, and you know what the main room is like. It's a big fucking room, beautiful stage, and they'd put like 18 comics up doing 7-minute sets. And he'd give you 20 tickets, and he'd say, "You sell these 20 tickets, you get to keep $100."
Yeah.
Of course, I pimped out every friend and family member I could find, and sold them all my tickets, and I did that like every 6 months. But yeah, so I went. My very first show is the Hollywood Improv. My second time is the Comedy Store, and for the next 5 years, it was every bar and bowling alley in Southern California. I mean, it was like and I just did lots and lots of little things. And I started about 3 months in. I got my first steady gig. Jack Asadorian Sr., the dad who owns the Ha Ha Cafe. I was going to his open mic every week. And he said, all right, I like your stuff. Come to the showcase. I'm going to try you out on a Thursday. So I try it out. And he says, all right, how would you like to be the host for the Tuesday Funnies? Right. So Tuesday's the lowest night. And I was like, I'll take it, Yeah. So for a year, I hosted the Tuesday Funnies of the Ha Ha. And that's really where my comedy school was, doing it. Because you can't, you had to write new jokes every week. You couldn't come in with a, say, 5-minute hosting set, or whatever. You had to, be original. You had to learn how to manage a crowd, learn how to, bring the crowd back when, someone failed and things like that. So that's when, and I when I started, I don't do anything, halfway. I just go all in to do that. So I did that from 2007. I was in LA until like 2013. And then we moved up here, and I started performing around. I did like the Comedy Oakland. I did, Kells. I did Milk Bar and The Hate, all the little shows that people are still doing today. And then when I was in LA, I was partnered with a guy named Joe Falzerano, who used to be the general manager of Caroline's on Broadway in New York. And he wanted to form a comedy club, and he knew I had a lot of business experience, so we kind of became a partner. And we were trying to partner with Funny or Die.
Right.
And we were trying to pitch someone an idea, and they liked it for a while, but then they said, no, we're just going to stay virtual. We like our thing. We're just going to only do online. We're not going to do branded clubs, but we like you guys. Wish you the best. Go do your own club. So we were actually looking to open a club on La Cienega, and it was going to be a more modern club with better food, like we do here. Because you know our stuff, right? We're known. We're like a more of an upscale, great food, great drinks, great cocktails.
It's a big jump up in the food for sure.
Right. Because when I was in LA, when we did our competitive analysis, I'm not going to rag out which club this was, but one of the big three, I go in and I say, okay, what kind of beer do you have? And she says, Bud or Bud Light. All right, I'll have a Bud. All right, get any food? Yeah, pizza, plain or pepperoni. Oh, and then she brings me 2 bottles of Bud, long necks, no glass, puts them on the table, walks away. So now one of my beers is going to get warm for 45 minutes because it's 2-drink minimum. Here they go. You get them both right away.
Yeah.
And I thought, fuck you. Bring me another cold beer in 45 minutes. When I'm done with this one, bring me another cold beer. Right?
They force you with the 2-drink
Right, and then we
minimum.
got tables smaller than this, and she brings the pizza out. And she goes, "Listen, you got to move your beer." So now I got to put a beer between my legs and balancing a beer. I'm holding a piece of pizza. And I'm like, this service sucks.
Right.
I said, we're not doing that. If we do a club, we want people to be comfortable. We want them to enjoy the food experience. And one of the things that people complained about on Yelp when we were doing our competitive analysis, people bitched out the 2-item minimum. Why do I have to pay a 2-item minimum? I tell you, nobody complains at our place ever.
Right.
Because you give them 2 great items.
Yeah.
Good choices. People are happy to pay for it.
They're not just putting 2 buds on the table.
I'm not giving you. Every comedy club has a freezer and a fryer, and everything tastes the same. Chicken wings goes in the fryer.
Now, do you think
fries
that
goes in the fryer?
Do you think that there's a relation between having good food and beverages? Do you think there's a correlation between having that and then having the crowd be a better audience?
Yeah, absolutely. They're a much happier crowd because if people start to feel put upon, then they're kind of cranky.
Right.
I'm a real stickler for all the little details. We always say our show starts when you walk in that gate, right? Not when the lights go on, right? And I want to make sure that our shows start on time. I don't leave people waiting outside. They get greeted by name. We have a guest list, and I even say, "What's your first name?" You say, "Rudy." I say, "Good, Rudy's here." You don't have to show me your card. I don't scan you. I don't look through your bag. I don't run you through a metal detector. I greet you by your first name, Rudy. I take you to your seat. Server is right on it with your cocktails.
Right.
The show runs like clockwork.
When did you open this club?
Yeah, that's a good one. 2020.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the pandemic.
What month?
April. We were supposed to start in April or May, right?
Shit.
But in March, we were halfway through our construction, and everything shut down. No construction, no work, no nothing. So for 2 months, we were like, and we did a full renovation. Every inch of this place is new, and we invested a ton of money on it. And we're like, did we just lose our money? Is it over? Is it done? So before it starts?
Yeah.
I put all this money in. Is it gone? So then 2 months later, they said, all right, you can open up restaurants and places with outdoor dining only.
Yeah.
Now, luckily for us, we have this really nice big patio. So we spent even more money to build an outdoor show where we put lights and cameras and micro and stage and tables and the whole thing. We built a second showroom outside, and then we officially opened, I would say we did some preview shows like September of 2020, and the official opening was in October.
Yeah.
So we got pushed back about 6 months on our
How
opening.
easy and how hard was it to make that transition? Because I know a lot of clubs didn't make it as easy when it happened.
Well,
because
it was not
again,
easy.
you were already.
We were halfway into it. It was not easy, and it was not easy for really most of the next 2 years. It's only been, I think, this past 12 months that life has been normal, that our tables are close together.
Right.
Because when we first started, even when we opened up indoors, they still had the social distancing rules.
Yeah.
So my tables were way out there, another table way over there, a table way over there, running at about 25% capacity. And you can't make money, at those. So we our only goal was to survive. We said, listen, let's just survive. We had to put more money in. We'll be digging out of a deep hole forever. But we made it. We came out on the other side of it. and it's going well now. But it was like the worst time in history to start a.
No, it wasn't. I mean, we were
We
literally
signed a lease 3 months before COVID hit. That's it.
Wow.
So we were locked in.
Wow.
I bought a 15-year lease.
I was literally talking to Rick about about this story in the car on the way over here, because I was telling him that during the pandemic, that's when you built the club, and I was watching the progress of the club on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I'm watching you guys do this, and as a spectator, I'm thinking to myself, like, fuck, man, like, what a terrible time for this to happen to them, and whoever's the owner of this, I guess they're just gonna have to eat it. But I got to tell you, man, I've always been one of the reasons why I had so much respect for the club and for you, even before we met and started working with each other, was because I realized, like, dude, this guy's he's hanging in there.
Yeah.
He's got an idea, he's got a dream, and he's hanging in there even throughout the worst circumstances.
Yeah.
And here we are, like 4 years later. I mean, I know it was a lot of tough work, but I'm sure those 4 years went by fast, and now you got a fully functioning club, all because you didn't give up at a time when no one would have blamed you for giving up.
In retro, the best financial decision probably would have been cut and run.
Sure, right, absolutely, yeah.
I would have been like
But I
this.
wouldn't-
I want to be upside down on all my
Gasoline
mortgages.
in the back.
But I wouldn't be able to pour myself a beer from my
No.
own bar if that happened. I'd be paying retail for beer. Now I'm drinking wholesale.
Yeah,
So,
but
there's that.
to your point though earlier about how the show starts when people walk in, I'm sure that the last year and a half, when things have been exactly the way that you wanted, or the way that you imagined them initially, I'm sure that it's probably been such a great time for you and your staff to just be like, all right, we have our own comedy club. We're doing it exactly the way we want to do it, and we stood the test of all the tests.
Yep.
Every single test that was out there.
I mean, if you look at like our Google, we got like a 4.8
Right.
or so rating at Google, like nothing but mostly 5-star ratings at Yelp. You get a few whiners every now and then, and I love to dig back at them. Someone gives me a shitty review, I usually give them a snarky response.
Right. Hey man, fuck it.
Well, I
can't
wanted
help
to
it.
ask.
4.8, you deserve it.
Yeah.
You earned it.
I wanted to ask Patrick. I don't know if you saw the blue sweater that I had.
Yeah.
I plan on wearing it, but I'm fat and I got hot setting all this stuff up. It's my Encinal Jets sweater.
Yeah.
Because I actually went to Encinal.
You went to Encinal?
Yeah, I went to Encinal for a couple of years.
Yeah.
My dad was stationed here in Alameda. And it just goes to my next question is Alameda has like its own, like it feels like its own little town, but in a higher dense area.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know how do you feel that works for your club or against your club, it being here in Alameda?
That's a really good question, because we happen to do it in Alameda because that's where we live, right? Lori first got a house in Alameda, and then we moved to LA, and then we moved back, and she just really liked Alameda. So we said we want to do it in our hometown, right? We want to be a local club. But we want to service the whole East Bay area, everyone from San Jose all the way up to Richmond, right? That whole bring everybody in. But there is a little bit of insularity in Alameda where some people feel like, oh, I have to go over the bridge or through that tunnel. It's like a barrier almost. And it's like, come on, people, you're in Oakland. You're like literally 3 miles from my door. In fact, from here to Oakland, I think it's like about 1.1 miles. Right. You get off Fruitvale Station right there. You can walk to the club from Fruitvale BART. All right. But, you do have to go through a little bit.
You got to go through East Oakland.
You got to go through some sketchy, sketchy streets.
I'm listening to you. I'm like, has Patrick actually gone to the other side of those bridges? I'm like,
I've never been off this island.
I mean, the greatest revelation of all time. Like,
If I do, I take the ferry directly to San Francisco.
Do you have a lot of clientele that just comes from?
We
and
do.
I only ask that because again, like. He knows my friend Roanne. I've known Roanne since I was 15, since we both went to Encinal. And she still lives here on the island. Most people that actually bought a house here won't move.
Right.
Because this is some of the greatest.
It's a nice place. It's right by the water. We get the good weather. Like you only have to go a few miles inland where it's like, oh, fuck, it's 100 degrees. And we're getting a nice ocean breeze here.
Right.
And you get that East Bay feeling where this still feels like the East Bay, but it's not Oakland.
Yeah.
We were having that conversation while we were setting up is because, I feel like my car is a little safer here.
Yeah. We haven't had any bippers on our street.
Well, that's one thing that you know about Alameda. Like they're gonna keep it secure.
Yeah,
that's had that reputation ever since I was a kid.
I would say I think I looked at the numbers once. I was trying to get zip code analysis of all my customers, and I think it was more like roughly 60% of the customers are islanders. They live right here. Yeah, and then there's another cluster from Berkeley, Emeryville, San Leandro. Fremont, and it spreads out. And then when we do our drag brunch show, that actually brings people in from, Walnut Creek and farther places out,
That's
to
cool.
do that. Yeah. That's our our Sunday show.
Yeah.
Cool.
But we want to make sure that, we do, we've been trying to work on, like, how do we get more people from off the island to come
Right.
over to convince them? Because the thing about it is, like, a lot of people who lived in the East Bay have never, ever been to Alameda.
That's so
And the
true,
reason
man.
is it's not on the way to anything. You
Right.
never accidentally pass through Alameda. If you come to Alameda, you meant to be here.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you go up and down the freeway, you just go right past Alameda. You have to go through a tunnel or over a bridge.
I guess
Yeah.
I really never thought of that
Yeah.
because again, I never left Texas
You never
until my
passed-
dad was stationed
right,
out
you don't
here.
pass
Right.
through here.
Right.
In fact, I lived in the Bay Area since the 80s, and I didn't come to Alameda until Lori moved here.
Yeah.
That
It's
was
not
it.
on the way.
It's not on the way.
not on the way,
I've
that's
been to
true.
Berkeley a million times, Oakland a million times, Never been to Alameda. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, though, we used to not come to Alameda because we were like, oh, dude, we're coming from Hayward, we're coming from San Leandro, we're coming from Oakland. We always, in our minds, we were always like, oh, shit, like, we could get in trouble out there. You know what I mean? Like, it might just be because Alameda, for a long time back in the day, it had that reputation of like, hey, like I said earlier, they're going to keep the city secure. Which is a pro, though, which is a pro for a business.
A lot
at
of my
least.
black friends in Oakland would say so, like, I don't want the cops here pulling me over in
Right.
Alameda. And I don't think it's as much of a problem as it was for a while.
Yeah.
Because I remember even back in the 90s, late 90s when I was here, there was always a fucking speed cop, hanging right by the edge of the tunnel. And I remember because you zip through the tunnel like 50 miles an hour, and then it drops it, and the Alameda speed limit is 25. Who can drive 25?
Right.
Even 30, 35. And they'd pull you over and give you a ticket for going 30, 31, So, But that's dropped. A lot.
Luckily, most of the cops
Yeah.
live in Oakland, so they're like, you know what? Hey, man, it's cool.
right.
Just come on through,
We're
man.
cool.
Don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know for myself
Yeah.
because, like I said, growing up here and being here a couple of years, like I said, we always ventured off the island. Like I remember riding my bike through the tunnel just to go to Oakland.
Yeah.
So I'm be like, but I guess I never thought of it the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Something about your club. We'll veer off the island, but a lot of these questions are going to focus around the club.
Yeah, sure.
And again, that's because you're our first club owner to be on here.
Well, we do.
So the first question I'm pretty sure every comic wants to know is, what do you do to make sure that they get past at your club? What do they need to bring?
That's a hard one because there's so many people who it's a real big numbers game, right? We book 50 headliner weekends a year, roughly, right? Maybe 52. And that means I only need 50 headliners, right?
Yeah.
That means I only need, and my hosts and features, I always source from the Bay Area community. But if I pass someone and they're going to be a host or a feature, I'm going to give them multiple opportunities per year to work, right? So if I let you feature 3 times a year, that means I only need 17 features and I'm full. My roster is full.
Yeah.
Right. And how many BayArea comics are there?
Oh, yeah.
500,
Easily.
800,
Easily.
1,000?
On what month?
How many good ones? How many
Right,
good ones?
right,
200
right.
good ones?
Right.
100
Well,
really
if you ask
good
them,
ones?
if you ask them, it's all
50
2,000.
killers? 50 killers?
Yeah.
Even with 50 killers, I only need 1/3 of them.
Yeah.
Right? So it's so hard, to go through. So, but the way I do it is but we always make sure we have space for people, and we always want to be open for comics at all levels. So we do an open mic every single week on Thursday, 18 comics. Sign-ups are on Monday. Like yesterday, I had 48 people sign up. We ask a little questionnaire. How many people are going to bring this or that? And people who bring friends get priority because it's a free show, and the only way I make money is to sell some food and drink. Right. And it's also good for them because they get a real audience. It's like, you go to most open mics, it's one comic talking to 10 other comics and nobody's laughing.
Right.
But here, we'll get 18 comics. They'll bring an average of 1.52 friends. All of a sudden, there's 50 people in the room. And we've also developed a reputation for the open mic for the local community. So we'll have a dozen or 20 civilians sometimes
Yes.
come in. We've actually packed this room for an open mic.
That's awesome.
So So we give those comics 18, their 5-minute spots, and we give them their opportunity to buy their video for $10. That's basically what it cost me to get them edited. They get their name on the credit, the logo, the whole thing. They can use it for auditions, or more importantly, I think, just learn how to do better. Like watch yourself. This worked. This didn't work. Oh, look how I'm fidgeting there. Blah 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 blah. Right. And so then I do a second level. I have a once-a-month show at a bar across town called the Fireside Lounge. And we call this a New Faces of Comedy. And that's where I give 8 selected comics an 8-minute set in a bar setting, right? And it's a tips-only show.
Yeah.
I make nothing. No, I don't make nothing. I get drink chips.
Hey,
so
that's something to stack
so
those up.
There you go.
I get myself a couple of cocktails. It's like 4 blocks from my house. I have fun. We do it. Then maybe once a month we do a showcase, right? And then I pick 5 or 6 comics to each do 15-minute sets. Because if you're gonna do weekends, you have to have a good solid 15 minimum, right? So sometimes I'll bring people up to that level. Now, I also have an email address called booking@alamedacomedy.com that anyone can submit. I always ask them, certainly a video sample, right? Just give me a good video clip and a short bio, your credits, and a headshot, right? And for headliners, I also want to look at their social media because I want to make sure they actually have a following. If you want to be a headliner, let me talk specifically about being a headliner here, right? The criteria for that is that I want to make sure that you have a website. And it should be in your name. It should be rickjames.com, and it should show. It should show your touring schedule, and it should be full because I don't want you to say, "Oh, I haven't really done comedy in a while, but I think I can pull together a 45." No, I want to know that you have a tight, well-rehearsed 45 that you can deliver on demand on a weekend to do 4 shows. You should have a significant social media following. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of followers to do that. And, well, of course, you have to be really funny. And I like, I like clever comedians. I like people who have really good stage presence, that just, they just own the room, that kind of person, And that comes in all shapes and sizes. Yeah. I don't say I'm only bringing Matt Rife pretty boys onto stage, right? You can be a big fat slob, but if that's your persona and you own that, that persona.
Ralphie May,
you're good.
Yeah, Ralphie May would have been perfect. No problem. He owned the room that he was in, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. But for that mailing list, I probably have 2,500 submissions, from which I need 50 a year.
Yeah.
So it's touchy, and I so people are always asking me, can I get spots? And I published this on Bay Area Comedy Network. I said, listen. Don't expect an answer from me when you ask for a spot because I get so many that if I say no to you, no one ever takes no for an answer. That turns into, but why not? I performed at Cobb's. Yeah, I know. Well, let me send you another tape. I don't need another tape. But this guy vouches for it. I know. Yeah. And it turns into 6 back and forths. And if I got into that conversation with everybody,
2,000 people.
Right.
that is all I would do from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed at night.
Right.
This is a don't call, and I'm not being rude. This is a don't call me, I'll call you business.
Right.
When I have ways for you to get in and showcase and to submit and to do things. And when I'm ready to book you, I'll call you.
So with that being said, how would you advise any comic to navigate through the field of dealing with bookers and owners and producers that are putting together shows? Just in general,
right.
How would you advise them to navigate?
Get all your shit together in a well-organized promotional kit, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many bad tapes I get. In fact, we're doing a workshop. Miles Weber, Miles, right?
Yeah.
He's about halfway through it right now. It's called the Tight 5 Workshop. And he's got 15 comics, each working on their perfect 5-minute set. And then we're going to do a showcase in about 3 weeks on a Thursday. All 15 comics are going to do their perfect 5. We're videotaping them for them. And, I get cell phone videos from the side of the room of a guy talking, and the first minute is set up with the host introducing them. Then they get on stage and they go, "How you all doing? Hey, give it up for yourselves. Hold on, let me go get my beer." And they come back, and it's like I'm 2 minutes in before they tell their first joke.
Yeah.
That tape won't play. You're out. I might not even see you because I'm like, Jesus Christ, 45 seconds in, I'm still looking at the host. Next.
Yeah.
Because there's so many of them. I just next. Oh, this is, you want to make sure that you've got killer material. You got to laugh in that first 15 seconds.
Yeah.
That it just good strong opening, good strong ending, get rid of all your fluff jokes that don't work. It should
Yeah.
be nothing but hits. It should be the greatest hits, right? And so because we look through these things, and again, thousands of them, right?
Yeah.
We're just happy to.
I may
to-
only give
to
you
hear
5
that you
seconds.
actually look through them.
I might only give you 5 seconds before I say no.
Yeah.
Right. Next, okay, this one's got me intrigued. Then I'll watch.
That's where an AI assistant would come in handy to just have the AI robot watch all the not funny at all computing.
I gotta write an algorithm to determine what's funny. Right? Yeah.
There you go.
But
You're a
it's
programmer.
but I know it's hard. And it's not fair, right? It's a brutal business. It's highly competitive.
Yeah.
Like I said, I only have so many spots, and I would tell people if you don't get on my stage, just go to one of the medium-sized shows that are out there, and go to do bar shows. In fact, when I first started, I did every single thing that was ever offered to me, no matter how far I had to drive. If I lost money on the gas, it never paid. I probably spent way more money as a comic than I made as a comic.
Do you think a comic should have to pay their dues? Because me and Rudy had discussed this on a podcast before.
Have to pay your I think it's almost inevitable that you have to, because even people who are really good are never like perfect out of the gate. This is funny. When I was 2 years in, I'm in West Hollywood having drinks with a friend of mine who's a pro comic, and Bobby Lee walks by, and she goes, "Hey, Bobby, come on over. I want to introduce you to Pat. He's a comic." I shake hands. "Hey, Bobby, how you doing?" He goes, "How long you been doing comedy?" I said, 2 years. He goes, 3 more before you're funny. And he walks away. Yeah, that was it. That was his rule. Like, if you're not doing comedy for 5 years, don't even fucking talk to me. You're not there yet. You haven't found your voice. You know nothing about comedy.
Yeah.
So,
and even that's subjective, because I've heard that same exact sentiment, but packaged up with 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years before you find your
could
voice,
be.
So
Yeah.
it's all very subjective at the end, because if people laugh,
But I
then you're
do
funny.
have a few comics that are now on my regulars. Jamar Pitts, for example, he made it to the showcase status in less than a year.
Yeah.
And we've had him host shows, right? 2 years in,
Yeah.
right? But there's other comics that are have been doing it for. I have comics who say, I've been doing comedy for 15 years, and I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I would never book you.
I always say,
you have not figured it out yet.
But you know what though? That's great to hear, because for me that validates what I've always said, and that's if I was gonna help anybody navigate through the comedy world or through any art,
Right.
Through any art, it's not fair. And the sooner you can accept that, the easier time you'll
The world
have.
owes you nothing. Right?
Nothing. And so you think these fucking promoters and bookers owe you
drives
something?
me
Come
crazy is when you see these, not in my club, but like chatting online in the forums about some little open micer wanted to get paid, and I'm like, you're worried about getting paid in your first 6 months of doing comedy?
Yeah.
Worry about getting good.
Right.
You'll get paid when you get good.
Yeah.
But that should be the only thing you care about.
I'm at a deficit still.
Right. Trying to get back to zero.
Right? I'm still paying off my bar tab from the Haha Cafe.
Yeah.
Just
So,
worry, trying to get to the red. That's
Only
it, bro.
worry about getting good.
Right.
And the only way you get good is to get up over and over and over again.
but it's funny, man, because we all see not just in Facebook.
And by the way, we do pay our comics.
Yes,
Just let you
know that. But you got
Don't worry.
you got a really good question about that.
Yeah.
But you know what I say though, as a comic, when I see people like that complaining, I say good. And the reason I say that, Patrick, is because I know they'll be gone sooner than later.
Right.
And that's good for the rest of us. Clear the way, get the dead bodies off the road.
Yeah.
And let's move the tanks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I've started telling clubs out in this area where I live. I'm not going to drive to LA for it, but I've started telling clubs, because I look at it from the other side, is sometimes the club will think like they own you because they paid you $25 for a host gig. So I just tell clubs now, like, I'll host and feature in this area for free as long as you got some people coming. I'll sell my own merch.
Right.
Like, I'll make my own
yeah.
money, because I hate the fact that I feel like now I owe you a favor because you booked me. And that's just the way I look at it sometimes, where I tell comedians, like, you've got to run this like a business sometimes. And I don't feel like a lot of comics do that. They feel like they're going to go from, an open micer to Kevin Hart status. And I'm like, there's a lot of in between that you didn't see.
And you got to learn
happen.
really good self-promotion skills.
Oh, yeah.
You should, like I said, have a well-curated, feed, get those great videos out on TikTok and Instagram and Reels and things like that. Here's another good piece of advice. Make friends in the comedy world. Don't fuck up don't fuck over people, don't step on people, because though you're going to get more gigs in your first couple of years from your peers than you're going to get from comedy club owners, right? And that was one of the things that I did when I was at the Ha when I first started. It was a pro-am show. Like I was responsible for bringing at least 3 or 4 bringer comics, and then they would put on like Adam Ray or Eliza Schlesinger or a few other pros in the show as well. But I had to fill those spots, and that was currency for me. I would say, listen, you got. Can you bring like 2 people? Yeah. And then if I do this show, I'll do your show over in Burbank.
Yeah.
Deal. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And we trade spots. It's like, you do my show, I'll do your show. You do my show, I'll do your show. So you have chips to trade. Right. To go forward. And that worked a lot. And then just getting to know folks. And I got real good friends with Brian Monarch, and Brian moved up the ranks, and he now produces. When you see his shows, the bookings at like the Hollywood Improv, he's got like Whitney Cummings and David Spade and 5 heavy hitters and
that have been in the game for a long time.
And he was the one who got me for the first time, actually for 5 times I think, on the original room stage at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
And I opened for people like Eliza and Chris. What's his name? The guy who
Chris.
The guy who got in trouble with young girls.
D'Elia.
A little story about Chris D'Elia. Chris D'Elia came up at the same time I did. And when I was doing the Ha, he was a nobody, right? And he would come alone. He would sit in the back. And if one of my comics failed really bad, people would start walking, right? And so I worked a deal with Jack. I said, Jack, listen, Chris is a killer. He works. He hits 100% batting average. Batting 1,000. Right. If I have a bad comic, can I just bring Chris up, even though he doesn't have any bringer friends with him?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, you can have Chris. Chris is he's your ringer.
Right.
So whenever something would go downhill, Chris, you're in. Bring him back, baby.
Yeah.
And he was great.
And he would do it.
Yeah. He was fantastic. Yeah.
All right. When it comes to your own club, Patrick, what do you pride yourself when it comes to your reputation of your club? What do you pride yourself on?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say service top to bottom. We just want to make sure. My wife runs the restaurant, and she is the consummate professional. She used to manage, multiple restaurants in San Francisco and Los Angeles, some of the top 10 restaurants in San Francisco.
So she's handpicked like the menu and
everything.
Okay.
We have a chef on staff. We don't just have a fryer cook.
Okay.
We have an
the Alameda Comedy Club has a head chef.
We have a chef.
Nice.
Aaron Burns is our chef. He's worked at great places like Epic Roast House in San Francisco and places like that. And Lori's been like the general manager of. She worked at Postrio, and Farallon, and all these high end restaurants. So she wants to make sure we had a really quality, menu.
Yeah.
And we had a food philosophy was that everything should be small, shareable plates that you can eat from the side with one hand. We don't want people like chopping steaks with a knife,
thank you.
twirling spaghetti in the middle of the show. Right? You
dropping
reach over,
forks.
You grab a calamari, you grab a slider, you get some fries, and you can share them all. But they're all great quality food, great, well presented, and delicious, right? So that was part of it. And like I said, the service, like we always, make sure that we greet people well, we treat them well from beginning to end, and and I'm really picky about who I put on my stage. I don't think I've ever had what I would consider a bad show. I mean, there's some that are B's that just didn't fly as much as the others, but I'm really picky about structuring the show and casting just the right combination of host, feature, headliner, things like that. So it's a lot of attention to detail.
So does your headliner ever bring their feature? Or
That's a problem.
Right.
I forgot to ask you.
And I have regretted that almost every time.
When you allow their feature? Because
the first time it happened, I'm not going to say who the comic was. Comic maybe in his 40s. Bring some hot little 22-year-old. She's supposed to do 30 minutes. She says, "Thank you and good night" at 20. That's all the material she had.
Wow.
She wasn't that funny. He brought her so he could screw her on the road.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Right? So I was like, "What? Damn! I fell for it." Right? So then I was like, "I'm never falling for that." And then a few other comics who were better names said, "I want to bring this feature." So now, if someone says, "I want to bring my own feature," they have to audition. I say, I want to see their tape. I want to see their website. I'm not falling for this again, because that's the one thing. Because here, when we talked about 60% of my audience comes from Alameda, right?
Yeah.
I'm a local club. If you have one bad experience here, that might be the last time I ever see you. And I have to, and it's a small island, right?
Yeah.
There's 85,000 people here, right? If I start burning an audience, I'll be out of business in 2 years.
Absolutely.
People won't come back. So I want to make sure that every single experience is a good experience. And if we do, and we have fucked up, service was bad or something got the wrong thing and someone complained, we make it right.
Right.
Don't worry, that's on me. Here's tickets to a free show. We'll come back again.
Right.
Let's do whatever we can to make it right.
But
And that doesn't happen very often.
But when you let somebody bring their own feature and you don't like the feature, that's like, dude, that wasn't even in your
it was my
control.
mistake.
It was your mistake.
It was my
Yeah.
mistake because I own this stage.
Absolutely.
Right? I only allow people on the stage that I want on this stage.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake a couple times early on where people brought someone who was subpar.
Right.
And I don't know if it's people said, oh, do you think it's because they don't want someone funnier than them to lead in? I was like, oh. If you can't handle following anybody, just get the fuck out of the
Yeah, it depends on her bra size. If she is the bigger,
Was she that cute?
I'm telling you,
She was really cute.
That's what I'm saying.
She was adorable, by the way. Yeah, I was like, wow, she's hot.
Jesus.
And she's going to have stage appeal. Yeah,
Right.
she has stage appeal, but she doesn't have a single joke.
Well, whatever your name is, girl, if
Yeah,
you want
whatever
to
your name
spot on
is,
any one of my
yeah.
shows,
The Ric will book you. Ric will book you.
you might not be welcome here, but you can come to Pleasanton, or I got a show in LA now.
Yeah, so now I always vet the feature.
But you know what, though? It's that type of attention to detail, and also I love this idea because I'm all about accountability in my personal life. So I love it when I hear somebody who's operating like on this level where they're running their own club, and yet at the end of the day, you say, "Hey, whatever goes wrong in this club is my fault."
Absolutely, 100%.
Because that's how you keep the
two
people
owners,
around you
my wife
on their
and myself,
toes.
are on premises for every show.
Yeah.
I've only missed like 2 shows because I had to travel on business and someone else ran the room for me.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
So
All
it's
right.
on you.
How did I word this one, Rudy?
Go
So let me throw it out there, and then Rudy will fix it
All
for me. Is I was telling him I was watching, I think I Am Comic, and one of the comics brought up how owners have paid them in weird stuff. And I go, let's flip that for the question. And what is the weirdest thing a comic has asked you for? And you don't got to give any names. But I was like, I'm pretty sure, because I've seen it, where comics will come in and be like, hey, man, where's the best massage parlor at?
Right.
And you're like, dude, why'd you ask the owner of the fucking
Well,
club that?
I see him jogging his memory, so maybe some there.
I really can't think of any. But when I started this thing, I thought, people are going to be looking for blow in the green room.
Yeah.
And it's not ever happened.
Yeah.
It never happened. And so it's a lot calmer and more normal
than the other comedy clubs.
than I
Right.
thought it would be. Right?
No, but that's interesting though, because you're right, man. It has become a little even in the time that I've been doing comedy, I've seen the debauchery subside a little bit, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that the world is so integrated now. I think a lot of people are afraid that, hey man, if I ask the wrong person for the wrong thing, or if I make it obvious that I'm looking for some coke at the end of the night, I might end up on I might go viral for all this shit. I think people are a little more self-conscious of that.
I think we treat our comics professionally, and we respect them. Every one of our comics gets paid while they are on the stage. I Venmo them before they leave the room. We pay on time. We agree on a contract ahead of time. We've never stiffed anyone ever.
So you don't pay with check? Because there's people out here that
Nope. You get a Venmo while you are performing.
Yeah.
Your phone's gonna go ding.
Right. It's like, oh shit! They just pay. I guess I'll give you 5 more minutes.
Done. Thank you and good night.
So have you ever heard of something? Have you ever heard of somebody being paid or heard of a club or a producer offer something weird to somebody? Like, because one time I know somebody who paid with chicken wings, like a bag of chicken wings.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen anybody pay?
No.
That,
here,
just all cash.
You pay cash. Plus, if you're working a weekend show, you also get 1 food item off the menu and 1 drink.
Okay.
Right. And you can buy additional food for 50% off. So and we have, like I said, we have great food. So
yeah.
And we put our headliner. We were putting our headliners up in a hotel across town. They just converted that now to low income housing. So we found a really nice Airbnb that's just walking distance from the
perfect.
club. It's like 2 blocks down, 4 blocks,
See, I
couple
didn't
blocks
even
over.
have to ask him that.
Didn't even. You got it. You knocked it out the ballpark.
Yeah, so
Patrick
it's
Ford
really
has
nice.
always paid his comics with regular
Always
money.
been time. Real money.
While you're on stage.
And I've never paid myself. That's another thing. I haven't been paid yet. I worked full time for 5 years on this. I have not paid myself.
Wow, it's a true labor of love.
Yes.
You get paid with satisfaction.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping someday I get paid with
That's
more
what a
than
businessman. That's what a businessman says. He's like, "Well, my LLC, I pay myself."
I am the last one to get paid. Yeah. Our staff gets paid. Our comics get paid. Our vendors get paid.
Yeah. And that's why things are
I
going
write
well.
checks to the company. That's my
Right,
job.
right.
Since we're
I
on the
put money
subject,
in, they take money out. Yeah.
since we're on the subject of pay, and you ain't got to tell me the dollar
Yeah,
amount,
yeah.
but I think I wrote it in the fact that I don't know if you've ever watched the show Dying Up Here.
Yeah,
Right?
oh yeah, sure, I love the
which
show.
is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
executive produced by Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And in the first season, they talk about the pay, and I go, even to this day, I feel like some comedy clubs are paying so low that I'm like, it's not even minimum wage. Some comedy clubs still pay $25 for a host.
Right.
And if you have to do 2 shows, that could sometimes be 6 hours at a comedy club.
Right, we're watching
You know
the
what I mean?
time in between shows.
Yeah, and everything, where you're just
I'm
like-
not going to tell you the exact numbers because
Yeah.
but they're private. But we pay.
What my question
We
was
pay
going to
more
be,
than that.
Patrick.
Yeah.
What my question was going to be is you were a comedian
Yeah.
and now you're the owner.
Yeah.
So where do you see it now? Now that you're like, man, I see the complaints, but now as the owner, I also got other costs that the comics
Right.
may or may not know.
Yeah.
Right.
So
there's a lot. I mean, you would not believe the amount of costs it takes to run a club like this.
we're getting to that question next.
Stuff.
But you can integrate it in this as you want
But
to.
I do a deal with all my comics, my headliners, for example. They'll get a guaranteed level. So even and I'll tell you, a bunch of comics did not reach enough ticket sales to even cover my costs. So there's someone under the thing, but. You guaranteed a minimum, and if you can sell 50% of the seats for your weekend or more, you start earning bonuses. Every 10% more of audience, all the way up to the top. You pack the house for 4 shows, you'll do great.
Yeah.
Right. I want to incentivize them to market themselves and to sell really push it up. And then our hosts and features are on a fixed set, and of course they also get the food and drink.
Of course.
But it's more than what you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
He
when
knows what it is. He's been
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, it's more than that. I can vouch for that.
when it comes to the promoting side, though, do you put it all upon just a comedian, or
God.
what is it that you do? And again, I'm asking
Yeah.
because a lot of comics
no.
think like, oh, well, the club never promotes it anyway. So,
Oh, no,
So
no,
I
no.
want
You have to-
comics to hear it from the standpoint of an owner.
Both sides have to do this, right? When you get here's where it starts. When you get, I'll show you. This one just came up on my thing. When a comic says they're going to do a show with me, immediately I get their headshot, and I don't know where it is right now. There, and I send it off to my graphic artist. And there's a picture of it. Right?
Yeah.
I got a graphic artist in the Philippines. He did our logo. We've been working with him out for 5 years. He logs on about 4 or 5 in the evening my time. I say, okay, Rudy Ortez, he's headlining the weekend of April 14th.
Yeah.
Here's his headshot. 24 hours later, he gives me a design. I say, it looks good, but bring
Switch
up the
this or
color
switch
on this or that. One edit, boom, done. And then he gives it to me in like 6 different sizes. He gives it to me
Like in the Instagram format,
square,
square,
tall,
okay.
Yeah.
Digifly, the weird little screens, Facebook event, slide on the top of my page. It's like 6 different format, and he booms. So then I start the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
I set up ticketing on our website. I create a Facebook event. I do a Facebook boost of that event to an audience within 20-mile radius who are 18 to 65 plus who are interested in comedy. I put it on the Digifly screens. I update.
Do
my
you share
Yelp
the 6 different
page.
ones with each comic too?
Yes, I give the comics 3, the ones they need, the social media sizes. I immediately give to the comics and I say, you have to promote, get out there and sell yourself, right? And and then just and it keeps going. And then I have a service called Eventbrite that I publish to, and that syndicates ours to about 15 other event listing sites.
Yeah.
So if you go to like SF Gate, what's coming up this weekend? There's our show.
Right.
All the different. So we get postings on that. I do a mass mailing. I have over 6,000 people on my mailing list from the club now. They get 2 emails a week about upcoming shows and special events and things like that. So I've got a system now of all of these places. We have printed posters. My wife gets little business cards for the upcoming shows. They go into the check presenters. Comics can hand them out. Like we were talking about promotion just before. Xander Beltran. By the way, Xander Beltran performing this weekend, Alameda Comedy Club.
Milky Mexican. Check it out.
Great. He has been. He does a tremendous job promoting. I've had other comics who didn't do much, and and it's like, come on, guys.
Now, do you
that's
check
not
on
a
a
lot.
comic though?
Oh,
And
yeah,
I only
sure.
ask that
Oh, I look at
because the comics that I book, I want to check your social media
I
too.
will check all your
Right.
social media, and if you're not promoting, I will let you know. Here's the promos again. Get them up today.
Yeah.
Do it. It's a must. You have to do it. But he just picked up 400 cards, and he's going to be at the ferry terminal tomorrow morning, handing them out to people getting on and off the boats. You know, he made his own posters out of. He took my art. He printed his own posters. I was having lunch with my daughter yesterday over at Lucky 13. Boom! Right there in the window. You know, Xander Beltran poster.
Yeah.
So so he's putting putting his feet on the street and getting out there and working it. You know, and he did that last year. He had a great weekend. We gave him a second weekend because of it.
Yeah.
But I've had pro comics who don't lift a finger. You know, they don't do too much. You know,
They just do you think they're just figuring, hey, the club's got it?
I don't know. I mean, people. Maybe some people don't think about it. They don't know how to do it, whatever.
Right.
But you know, I definitely do a lot. Like you said, and there's probably 5 more things.
And
on
I
that
will
list.
say, just hearing what you said, most clubs don't even do half of that. So, you know,
we have to really.
As far as
I mean,
social media and putting it on different things, you know, it's just.
I always
it's
feel like
great to hear that.
I always feel like we always feel like,
well.
what more could we do? It's like I wish we had more video ads, but they're kind of time consuming to produce and get ready, and you know that's we're trying to build that up a little more active for us. You know, we tried radio once, but we didn't get a really good return on investment. It was expensive. It didn't really work, so we dropped that.
Yeah.
Put ads in the local print paper, but who the fuck reads paper anymore?
Oh, man.
Right? Stuff like that. So we tried lots of different mechanisms to go out, but now I think we have a pretty solid set, and I try to get it out. Like I said, the moment I book you, and I'm booking shows now in like May and June and July, you know, and I get their ticketing up right away, and I start the Facebook event and everything. So if you go to Facebook, if you find us on Facebook, you look at all the events. Oh, look at all the events, right? And then the week of, that's when the saturation happens. We start hitting you, you know,
Would you tell a comic that, you know, it would be wise of them to invest their own money into promoting, even if it's for their own show at a club?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't want them to go broke. I mean,
Right.
I mean, I know a lot of the comics who are, at least the ones who are trying to do it full time, you know, are kind of strapped for cash. In fact, here's a piece of advice for you kids: do not ever get in the comedy business for the money. Right? It is the wrong. If you're making a big mistake.
Right.
You know, not even as a comic or a club owner, right? I'm not making money yet, right? But hopefully we will, and it'll be fine, right? But I have a great club, and I enjoy doing this. And I never went into comedy for the money.
Right.
Now, I granted, I had a really good job. I was vice president at Atari at the time I started doing comedy, so I didn't give a fuck about the $20 gas money. You know, I just wanted stage time. That was the most important thing to me at the time. But a lot of comics are in that lucky position. You know, some of them are unemployed, some of them have, you know, minimum wage jobs, and they're just scraping nickels together to get gas money to get to a show. You know, carpooling, whatever it takes. So I have great sympathy, you know, for the grind, the stuff that they have to do. But it's all about, like I said, trying to just get up and get out as many times as you possibly can.
Right.
To get good.
The money will come if you're
the money. No, I not even said the money will come. The money may never come.
Right.
But the money might come.
Yeah. If you're actually working hard towards getting better at it.
How many people make it to that level? Like of all
Very
the
few.
comics that start, who has Netflix specials?
Very few. And
It's
this
a
is
fraction of 1% of all the comics.
And
this is a moonshot.
Yes,
you know.
But I attribute that to, you know, I don't think that's exclusive to just stand up comedy. I think that if you choose art, you have to know that getting into it.
But here's the other thing about it. It's like, why do you do it? You do it because you can't not do it.
Exactly.
Right? Because I love it so much. I have been a comedy fan almost from birth. My parents are big comedy fans, and we whenever comedians were on TV, watched the shows. I had comedy albums. I had, like, some of the albums you see here, the classics. I had them when I was, like, you know, 12, 13, 14 years old. I had my Cheech and Chong album. My mother wouldn't let me listen to it, so I took it out and I stuck it in a carpenter's sleeve, and I threw away the thing. So when she wasn't home, like,
they pull it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard D-Ray today on a podcast say something where I was like, to me, it was so profound, where he was like, he took a comic back to the airport so she can go back to the Midwest where she was from. And he goes, man, if you really want to do this, you're going to make an excuse to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And I was all, shit, that's me. I've been making an excuse since 09.
Yes.
Like,
No, it's true,
but
though.
that's the truth.
Right.
Like
You have to
know,
love
me and my
it.
girl will argue all night about, why'd you have to go? And I'm like, babe, because I need this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be the person that I am unless I'm doing this.
Yes.
At least once a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah,
So
right.
release.
Right. I used to keep that rule for myself too. It's like, listen, if you go a whole week without doing comedy, you're quitting.
Right.
I mean, like that is quitting, right?
Yeah.
You should try to. I mean, you should try to get out every night if you can, but at least a couple nights a week. You get out there. You got to stay sharp.
Yeah.
And here's my other big thing for comics. keep writing, write all the time, try new material. Because I have a couple of comics. I have some that are actually great, and I book them as features. And for the last 3 years, I've seen the same exact 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a great 30 minutes. It's a really tight 30 minutes, and it puts on a great show. But they're never going to go anywhere if they don't keep writing.
Right.
Make something new happen all the time.
But will clubs keep booking them?
Yes, because you got to do it right, though.
Right,
The thing about it is, like, don't go up there and say, okay, I'm just going to improvise for 30 minutes, see what happens on a paid weekend show. No.
Yeah.
Like, I would try, like, I'm, maybe I'm a little attentive and, OCD about it, but I used to keep all my jokes on index cards and every set list that I did on an index card. And I knew every place I performed, who was in the lineup and stuff like that. And I would say, all right, I got to do 10 minutes at the Comedy Store on Thursday. All right, I'm going to open with my great opener. I'm going to finish with my classic closer. I'm going to try these 2 new jokes, right? But at the first one, I have one joke. It's called Shit in the Bag that has never, ever failed. It's 100% solid joke. Okay, the experimental joke goes right before Shit in the Bag.
Right.
So if that joke tanks, I know 30 seconds later I got him back.
Yeah.
Right. So I was careful about layering things in. That's for like a big show. But then I did little bar shows where free form. I might go in there with no notes, pick a topic, and just rant for 5 minutes and see what comes out of it, because it's an open mic with 12 other comics in the room. Who cares, right? But out of that 5 minutes of ranting, I might get 1 or 2 good ideas. That I come out with. So just be smart about it. Like when it's
right,
when the eyes are on you, bring your A game.
I tell comics to record every set.
Absolutely, record every set.
Because maybe I tweaked one joke where I was like, man, I didn't think of that punchline or that tag or whatever it is.
Right.
And I'm like, that's how you get something.
Right. I did that all the time. One little aside from that, I used to do it constantly. And I had one joke that I thought was a really clever joke that I worked on, and it was about Starbucks being responsible for the epidemic of anxiety because they've over-caffeinated us, right?
Yeah.
And the punchline went, I'll have the lorazepam scone and the Prozac Frappuccino, right?
Yeah.
And the joke wasn't working. It was falling flat. And I'm like, God damn it, I had this big build-up. I worked it out like a poem, and it wasn't working. And I realized nobody knew what the word lorazepam meant, right? And so the brain stopped thinking.
Yeah.
Started thinking about it, and then they missed the punchline. I changed that one word. After watching it, I was like, why is the joke falling flat? Then I tried. I said, I'll have the Valium scone and the Prozac Frappuccino. Boom, laughs.
Yeah.
Because Valium was a word everybody
immediately
knew.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just changing one word, one pause, one inflection. But you won't know that until you
do it.
Until you watch it and learn from it, But comics who don't edit themselves.
Right.
But this is one of my other big. I see some open micers come up here, and they keep trying a joke that's a groaner, a total groaner, and they do it every week. And I'm like, throw that joke away.
Right.
It has never once worked.
Or
Why
change
are you
it.
still change it, fix it, or throw it away? Why are you still doing that to us?
Yeah.
I will say this.
You're hurting us.
You're hurting us now.
There's the other side, Patrick, is some comics write too much sometimes, or I've heard comics be like, "Man, I'm doing new material." I'm like, "Dude, you don't have old material that's great yet. Like, can you get your 7 to 10 that works everywhere and then write some more?" So
that alludes to another topic. Don't overstretch yourself when an opportunity presents. And I tell comics this. I say, like, people who are the up and coming, and I say to them, and I've seen them do 5, maybe I've seen them do 8. I say, do you have 15 of A material? They say, I think so. I said, if you think so, you don't. Right? Don't do a 15 in my showcase, which is your audition, unless all 15 is A. Right? I don't want to see you peter off after your first 8 minutes and then go, oh, so anybody from out of town,
right?
And like, you just have a bunch of filler. It's
crowd work for 8 minutes.
Crowd work filler. If it's good crowd work, that's fine. But mostly they're not. Right? Right. But just don't step to the next level until you've earned it, until you're ready for it, because it's one step up, 2 steps back, right? Because you're going to say, okay, I have my first opportunity to feature, and your first 15 is hot, and then nothing happens in the second 15, and people are sweating and go, whoa, that was bad, and you'll never be back, because you know what? There's 200 comics waiting for that spot next week.
Absolutely.
Right?
I tell comics it's better to leave the crowd wanting more.
Right.
Then please get the hell off the stage.
And disappointing them at the
Right.
very end,
And not only does it, I was just having this conversation with Rudy on the last podcast. I had a comic come and do my room last month, and I had to light them 3 times. The owner came up to me, who gives me a budget, and she was just like, you know, is he ever going to get off stage?
Was he running the light?
Yeah, he ran the light 3 times. So and I got talked to.
Don't
and
get
that was
me
the first
started
time.
about running the light. My wife even laughs at it. She goes, "I have such a pet peeve about."
But
comics who
what
run
is it
the
like?
light."
How do you handle running the light?
Well, I have the light.
Yeah.
Right. Let's say you want a 5-minute light. I give you a 5-minute light. When you're up with your 5 minutes, I flash the light a few times. Right. You ignore it for 30 seconds. I flash it again. You ignore it for a second. Then I have a flashlight with a strobe on it. That comes right in your eyes. You can't know. You can't not know that the light is on you. And because here's what's wrong about running light. Lots of things wrong with it. One, these are timed shows, and I got a second audience who has to get in. Right.
Yeah.
So I have to steal time from the comic after you.
Right.
I have to say, listen, instead of doing 30, you're going to do 25. Right. And that might throw you off because you say, fuck, I have a perfectly structured 30 minute set. What 5 am I going to take?
But you know what, though, Patrick, that's a very important thing, and I want to point that out because everybody should understand that. Okay, if you go over, let's say you go over like 5 minutes, which is fucking crazy, right? But let's say you go over 5 minutes. You're not just pushing the show back 5 minutes, and the people out there in the second audience, they're not just having to wait an extra 5 minutes.
Fucking
No,
over the next
they're going to
comic.
start on time.
They're mad.
You're stealing from the comic.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
I either have to take it away from a comic,
Yeah.
or I have to make people stand outside.
But who would you rather take it away from? Probably the comic as opposed to the crowd.
I don't want to bring in a surly crowd who said, "I've been waiting out here. It's cold."
Right.
You said the doors open at 9.
Because a lot
It's
of comics will run the light thinking to themselves like, it's fine. I mean,
I'm doing great. I'm doing
up.
great. Let me give them more.
No.
Right?
Or I mean, well, those are the ones that are really fucking delusional. But like most of them, the reasonable ones at least will be like, fuck, I ran the light. But it's okay because they told the next comic they're going to get 20 minutes. They're not going to take away from the next comic, so everything is fine. No, yes, they will.
I do it all the time.
And now, if you're the next comic, I'm mad at you.
I have to tell headliners, listen, I'm going to have to cut you to 40
Right.
because we cannot start late. Because, like I said, my show starts when you walk in that gate.
So those
people are at the show.
To be fair, that's normally the first show, though, right? The second show, they can run a little bit longer.
Let me tell you why the second show sucks. Because I do a last call 20 minutes before the show is about to end for your last drink, then we drop the checks. So if you're running late, I'm not making any more money. I can't sell another drink.
Yeah.
And I've got 7 people on staff that I'm paying hourly, and now the clock's ticking, and you're costing me money.
Right. Yeah.
Don't do it. This is the business.
Yeah.
There's a light. Everyone knows how the light works. And the number one rule of comedy you should learn on your very first day is don't run the fucking light.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Right. If you want to figure out why,
because
ask
you know what?
around,
If you're really bad, particularly if you're not like a real pro that I give a shit about, like, and you get up there and you do I'm going to do my 15, and then you do 21, and I'm like flashing the light, and you're not getting off the stage. Probably the last time you're ever going to be on the stage.
That's real. Once you see that strobe.
Because you know what? Next.
Yes.
Right? What's nice about this, it's mean to say really, but I don't have to put up with bullshit.
Yes.
Because I have 1,000 more comics that are qualified who want that spot. And I'd rather give it to someone who's professional, who knows how to do their job, than have to argue with anybody.
Yeah.
Just next. Just go away next.
Comics got to hear that.
Have you ever had a comic come up to you on the second show and be like, do you mind if I just go however long?
Yeah, and I tell them no.
Yeah. Hey, you got to give an A for effort. At least they ask, right? Instead of just doing it.
Nope. How many minutes you going to do? And no, I have had a comic like for example, my last weekend comic. So listen, I have a 50-minute set. Not a problem. So I go to my feature. I say, listen, he's going to do 50, so you'll do 25. Right, and it's agreed up front, and we're all fine. The pay's the same. I'm not going to take. I'm taking 5% off your pay because you didn't give me the full 30 minutes. No, it's pays the same. But that was that was negotiated and worked out. It worked out just fine. To do that.
That's cool.
But I just don't. Like I said, also these chairs are comfortable enough. But you're not in a big armchair. You don't want to sit in this chair for 2 hours.
Right.
People start to get fatigued. I remember once I went to a ball game over at. Not Canada.
That's not your way of telling us
Park.
You're getting tired.
Yeah. No, AT&T Park. I'm at AT&T Park, right?
Yeah.
They stop serving beer at the 7th inning stretch.
Yeah.
I'm in the hot sun. Game goes 13 and a half
Come
innings.
on, man.
And I can't get another beer.
Come on.
Like, I feel I was being tortured. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, my God. I'm like thirsty. The sun's
Dude, that's an
down
extra
on
2
me.
hours.
I need another cold beer. And they're
Yeah.
like, no, you can't have one. So that's what it's like. It's
that is so crazy. Don't get me started on sports beers because I got a whole fucking thing on that, man. They need to fix that shit fast.
Since we're kind of already in this topic, I did have the question when it comes to owning a comedy club. What would you say to comics that may or may not know the dealings of the comedy? You know, because every comic wants to pretend like, well, I know what they pay for this,
Right.
pay for that,
Right.
but we really don't know until you've ran your own room or you experience certain things. So you as an owner,
Yeah.
now that you've gone from a comic to an owner, you're like, man, I wish most comics would understand this about the business.
Yeah.
It might be something you've already shared.
No,
with us.
that's a good one. I think part of it is just it is a business, right? Even though you're an artist, you know, treat it like a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you communicate, you know, through the right channels, and you know, and provide the information you need. Get your headshot. Get a good headshot. I can't
Yes.
tell you how many times someone says, "Here's my headshot," and they show them leaning against the car with their arm around their girlfriend. I'm like, that is not a headshot. It's a nice picture of you and your girlfriend by your car,
Right.
you know. But come on, a headshot. It's right in the name. Give me a picture of your fucking head. Just put some good lights on you and get it, you know, your iPhone and take a bunch of pictures until you find the best one. That's your headshot, right? Good. You're in the game, right? To do that. Promote yourself, like we talked about that. Write good material. Show up on time.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't show, don't ever cancel a show day of unless you got to be bleeding out. You know, it's
Right,
like,
right.
You know, we've sold your tickets with your name on it and stuff like that. You be there, right? I don't care if your lungs are coughing up a lung. You know,
Fucking cough it up here.
yeah, right.
Cough it up right here.
Yeah, but
Let that be the
be on-
closer.
No, man, we're sympathetic to people who
Yeah.
really get sick, and I have a couple of backup people I'll bring in if something really goes wrong. But be professional, be on time, be respectful. We have certain rules in the back, like don't order anything from the staff in the first 15 minutes. Don't expect you're going to get your food and your drink because these people are more important
Yeah.
than you.
Yeah.
Right? They're the ones paying the bills, not you. Right?
Yeah.
So you wait your turn. You know, it's not long, 15 minutes. After the first round of drinks is served, then you can go to the bar and say,
Yeah.
"I'd like my beer, please." You know, because we give every comic who performs a drink chip, and they get a beer or wine or soda.
Right.
Whatever, you know.
Just like simple etiquette.
Simple etiquette.
Pretty simple
right.
etiquette.
Simple
yeah.
etiquette. Be polite to the staff. You're
Yeah.
rude to my staff, you probably won't be back again.
And then also the green room. I mean, how do you feel about people bringing a bunch of people into the green room?
I don't mind as long as it's not too disruptive.
Okay.
It's fine. We've had people with guests and
Yeah, because sometimes the green rooms get out of control.
Yeah.
It's like somebody wants to bring in like
well, our
3 or
green
4.
room's kind of small, so we can't get into too much trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
That might be
Yeah,
a
right,
great
might
deterrent.
help,
You know.
Right.
What you got, Rudy?
Well, I was looking at some of the stuff that you brought up, and the one thing that I didn't see on there is, you know, what do you think it is that that the comic needs to what's the big switch from going from a comedian who's out there, who's going on to stages, different clubs, different producers. What do you need to make that switch to become an owner? Is there something that you have to abandon? Is there something that you have to compromise when it comes to the art to become business minded? Because I see a lot of comics that they kick this idea around, and I think typically a lot of people think that comics would make great comedy club owners, but that's not always true, though.
You would not believe the level of complexity it takes to run up. I wouldn't have been able to do this if it was not for my wife, because she has opened, I don't know, over the course of her 7 or 8 restaurants.
Yeah.
The checklist of what it takes to open a venue is 1,000 items long, right? I mean, there's the various kinds of inspections and architectural diagrams and choosing these room lights, right? We said, okay, we want this kind of golden glow light. Lori probably looked at 100 examples online. She ordered 7 different one of them to be delivered to us. We wired up a bunch of them till we find the one we want. Then we ordered 27 of them. That's just the lights,
Right.
You know, deciding where the stage should be, getting that little gold star there. I had to design that and have a foundry in LA make it. I mean,
Right.
Every single thing you see in this room, every chair, every table, every curtain, at one point I carried it myself.
Yes.
It's so much work. I would not recommend this for anybody.
Right.
It is so much.
Just do
But-
stand-up.
Now that it's done, it feels great, and I
Yes.
love being here. This is one of my favorite spots in the world to be, is sitting here. But when you say about from a comic to this, I thought that when I owned my own club, I'd get up more, but I made a rule up front. I said, listen, I am not gonna be the hog where I headline every week at my own club. Welcome to Pat's Comedy Club, where we feature Pat. You know, right? And, so I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to throw away any material I used to do, and I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to do the open mic for 5 minutes, and when I feel like I have a polished 5, I'll put that aside. I'll do another 5. I'll put that aside, put another 5, and then when I think I've got 15, then I'll put myself in a showcase.
Yeah.
And then I'll repeat that process, and then when I feel like I've got a good solid 30, then I'll feature myself, and then maybe 5 years down the road, maybe I'll headline a weekend.
Right.
Total dreamer. I don't think I've been in the open mic more than 3 times.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the questions
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you've done comedy a lot less, and it seems like
Way
you have,
less.
because you're so busy with everything
I'm so
else,
busy.
right?
Well, the thing is, I actually have 2 jobs. I have a tech startup that me and a partner are working on. So I wake up every morning, I get online, I have an engineer in Pakistan, another engineer in India. My partner's down in LA. We're part of the big accelerator programs. We're trying to raise venture capital, the whole thing. That's an all-consuming business.
Yeah.
And then, like all the marketing stuff we just talked about, all the booking stuff we just talked about, paying the bills, and just doing repairs and everything like that. That eats up so much time. So I don't have much time. I'm a bit of a workaholic, which is just fine.
I mean, I could tell you're a workaholic just by the way that you run the club. Even if I didn't know anything else about your life, like I could just tell because you're the times that I've been in here working, I could see you're very hands-on. You're everywhere up and down the club, and you're very diligent with your work.
I'm the host. I
could
see
tell.
people, then I go in the back and I run the control room.
But the main reason I asked that question is because not only is this a very tedious business to keep going, obviously, all the stuff that you've put together, like you said, you put your hands on all this stuff. But what I was referring to is when you make the switch from a comedian to a comedy club owner, or what I was trying to get at was, do you ever find yourself compromising what you believe to be acceptable in comedy now that you're not just a performer, but you're also a business owner? So, in other words, do you expect comedy to be shaped a certain way as opposed to when you were simply performing it and it was maybe a little more broad and it was, anything goes perhaps?
No, I really leave it up to the community. I never censor or tell a comedian what they can or can't do, and I like a wide range of styles of comedy. You just have to be good, right? And I'm such a super fan of comedy. I love my comedians. I mean, I've been a fan for my whole life. I mean, the day I turned 18. I bought tickets to a comedy show at Governor's in Long Island. I saw George Carlin when I was 18 years old.
Awesome.
I saw him again a couple months before he died. I was like, every single time I go to a city on business and I'm like, nothing to do. Do you have a local comedy club?
Right.
And I go there by myself, sit in the back, get a couple beers, watch comedy. I mean, I'm an addict. I love it. Just love it. Yeah. So, but when you're talking about going from a comic to a comedy owner, and you're doing it now, there's that mid-level of being a producer. Right, and I transitioned into being a producer really early. I started doing a show at the West Side Comedy Theater in Santa Monica, before they even had their liquor license. I used to bring a cooler full of like Bud and Bud Light, and, cheap beer I could find to pass out to the audience for free, just to make it a good show.
Right.
Like I would lose $24 on
now
beer.
that's where 2 Bud Lights sound good.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It works in that environment. Who wants a cold beer? Here you go. Yeah? Stuff like that. But learning how to evaluate comics and run a room and run the show tight and things like that. That's a good stepping stone. So no one should ever just go from being a comic to being a comedy club owner if they haven't spent multiple years producing shows.
That's great advice.
And realizing that not every show is going to make you money.
Yeah, like I said, right. And like I said, I think I still believe this. If you're in comedy for the money, you're in it for the wrong fucking reason.
Well, I'm talking about the producing side too. As I tell,
I know
comics,
I know comics want to make money, but the thing about it, when you're the producer and the show doesn't make money, hey,
yeah. I mean,
you played, you lost.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure your comics get paid before you get paid.
Yeah.
True,
My comics
man.
always get paid
because you're going to get a bad reputation. If you say to comics, well, I didn't make enough money, so I kept half, and I know I promised you 20, but here's 8.
Right.
No, you eat it.
Right.
If you promise them 20, pay them 20.
And the comics are going to give you. The comics are going to remember that, and
they will pay it back,
and they're going to continue to give you their best efforts.
They'll support you.
Yes,
they'll be there when you need them.
Yeah.
So moral of the story is lose your ass more often if you want to make friends.
Actually, I think I have 2 more questions. First, I guess I was going to end with this one, but let me reverse it. The question is I feel like sometimes clubs are about community. So what is it that you do for comics? I've been trying to get other clubs to be like, hey, let's go do a kickball tournament for comics, or let's go do something. I think Tommy T's is my home club, so we've done a few things when Tommy was still the owner. Had pizza night and poker night or whatever over there on a closed night. It was just comics in there bullshitting. So I just wanted to know, what is it you as a newer owner, what things that you're trying to do to
Well, our big thing is Super Bowl Sunday. We run a big open house on Super Bowl Sunday. Behind this thing is a 14-foot video screen, great surround sound, and it's our staff and all of our paid regulars get invited, and they can bring a guest, and so the staff doesn't have to work. I go out and I buy a couple of cases of beer and Coke and stuff like that. I put on ice. We get chicken wings from the place on the corner. I get tacos from the place down the street. I get hot dogs from the Pampered Pup. We put out a big spread. My wife makes a queso dip, and we just I get a bottle of tequila and a bottle of whiskey, shot glasses, and it's Super Bowl Sunday party.
That's a good time.
It's fun, and that's a lot of fun. And we should do, and I think we'd like to do a couple more things like that. Just to keep the community
maybe
going.
We'll talk.
Here's another thing we do. I don't know if most people know this. I probably shouldn't say it on your podcast because people might abuse it, but we will catch you if you try to use this code. We have a promo code. In fact, I'm not even going to tell you what the promo code is, but I have a promo code that I give out to comics to say, if you want to see a show on a weekend, the 9:15 show, the late show, comics get in free all the time.
Oh, that's cool, man.
And the reason I do that is because a lot of comics who are coming up make the mistake of only ever seeing comedy by their peers.
Yes.
They go from open mic to open mic to open mic to bar showcase to bar showcase, and they think that's what comedy is. And they're only here. Comedy's there. Professional comedy's way up there. And if you don't get out there, live audience. I mean, yes, you watch Netflix specials, and of course you expect it to be good and produced. But get in a room with a pro comic and watch them own the stage for 45 minutes. You will learn so much.
I couldn't agree more, man.
You got to go see pros at their best, close up in a real club, and understand the difference between what you thought was good and what is good.
Yeah. Just being in the room with somebody who has been doing it for a while, that has command of the crowd,
stage, right.
and you have nothing to do with it.
No, you're just
you know what I mean?
observer.
You're just an observer,
taking mental notes.
And then also coming into a club where you might have worked at before, or where you're trying to get into. I could tell you from my experience, man, every time I stepped into one of these clubs around the Bay or anywhere around the country, especially when I was newer into the comedy game, I went in there with a student's mentality.
Yeah.
And you can't really duplicate that same feeling going to watch your homeboy at the club or at the bar, or going to watch the same comics that you've seen for the last 3 or 4 years, who are your friends, and I'm sure they're funny too, but it's something about coming into a club where you're like, oh shit, okay, I'm not performing tonight, but I'm here. They let me in for free because I'm a comic. I'm here to watch another better comic.
Right.
And you do go into like a student mindset.
I had an open micer, a good guy, and he's working hard, and he's coming up. He's like, come on, why won't you let me do like a 15-minute? I got 15 minutes. I'm like, I haven't seen you do 5 solid yet. You got a few good jokes in your 5, but I haven't even seen a solid 5 from you. I said, come on a weekend. Here's some tickets. Come see these people. And then afterwards, he goes, okay, I see the difference.
Yes.
I see the difference.
Yeah, because he was paying attention with a different from a different scope.
I get it.
Yeah.
That I said, that's the level.
That's definitely you're doing a service to the comics by allowing.
I gotta tell people, if you overstep, you're going to hurt yourself.
Of course.
Right? Because you come out, you say, okay, I think I've been doing a couple open mics. I'm ready for that showcase. You go into the showcase, you bomb.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. I probably won't even bring it back ever.
Right.
And if I do, it'll be a couple of years from now because there's too many other good comics in line.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing is, like, when you get your spot in line, don't screw it up. Make sure you're ready for it.
Right.
And I say, because comedy's so subjective too, I like to view people that I normally wouldn't. I tell people I grew up in the era of Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah.
But if I can go see a Dennis Miller or a Jerry Seinfeld or something, I might just take that opportunity and be like, that wouldn't be a comic that I normally pay for.
Right.
But this
See
is somebody.
I would see everything.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in college. I went to every single comedy show I ever would be there. And I remember I saw Franklin Ajayi. I don't even know who Franklin Ajayi is, but it's like late '70s, early '80s kind of stuff. And and he's a black comic with a good urban audience, black audience. And I'm like the only white face in the front. And of course I got picked on all night long, and I loved it. It was just the greatest experience of my life, right? But I would I like I can't even think of. I don't know if I can even name comics that people say, oh, I hate this comic, I hate that comic. I don't really hate comics.
No, yeah.
You know, like even the ones that I say, well, they're not really my flavor, you know, but I respect them if they're, you know, working hard.
I respect
Right.
anybody that's doing
Yeah,
this.
anyway, all right. You know what?
Yeah.
That's a really good thing to say. If this is one of the hardest things in the world to do.
Yeah.
You're out there. Like it's one person, one voice. Let me finish on one story if I can.
Yeah.
Like I said, George Carlin was my comic hero, right? And I saw him when I was 18 years old at the City Center in New York City, and he was great. I saw every one of his HBO specials. And then a couple months before he performed his last one, I had an opportunity to get into the Comedy and Magic store in Hermosa Beach, where he was rehearsing for his 12th or 14th, whatever it was, HBO special. And so he comes out on stage, and I'm in a club about this size, sitting right back there, 30 feet from the stage. And George goes, okay, I'm going to do my material for my HBO special. I've got some of it perfectly memorized. I hope you don't mind, but halfway through the show, I'm going to go to my paper, you know, and work through, you know, some stuff. And, you know, so we watched him do the material, then we watched him try some material. Some of it worked, some of it didn't, you know, whatever. And then we left. And I'd only been in the game for a year.
Right.
And I said to my wife, I said, you know what? I had an epiphany. I said, this game, here's George Carlin. He's the absolute top of our profession. And he's doing today exactly what I did yesterday. I went on stage with some jokes I had, some jokes I was trying out. It's one voice, one microphone, one spotlight. The jokes work or they don't. The feedback is immediate. You don't have to wait for the reviews to come out. So this job is the same job from the first time you get on stage to the very last time you get on stage. The stages get bigger, the crowds get bigger, the money may follow to do that, but it's the same exact job, and it's all you. There's no backup dancers. There's no soundtrack. It's just you, you know. So it's a very personal art form,
right?
And the purest art form.
Absolutely, man.
Well, let me share this story, then I'll end with the last question. Just because you gave me the opportunity. Kind of the same thing. I went to go watch Louis C.K. at San Francisco Punchline. And he goes, hey, man, you guys, this is my new hour. This was before all his drama happened or whatever. And he goes,
he would throw away all of his material every year and start it.
And he goes, look, I'm going to work through some new material. You guys, he did his stuff. At the end of the show, he goes, all the food and drinks on me, everybody. You guys have a good night. And that was the only night where I was upset because I did my 2-item minimum. My friend next to me was like, damn, I'm glad I got 8 shots in 6 minutes. And I was like, this.
I should have ordered the calamari.
Your buddy's like, I don't even have any money. Isn't that crazy? And he can jerk off in front of me whenever he wants, man. There's no problem.
So I wanted to share that story because I never shared it on the podcast.
Great.
So shout out to Louis C.K. Man, he's actually doing the bit. I don't know.
He does a bit about that now.
That shit is fucking hilarious.
Everybody knows my thing, but we don't know your thing.
Right.
We know what my thing is. Right?
It's just fucking hilarious. But I only wanted to ask this only because you guys, while I was setting stuff up, you were talking about the tech stuff, which I came in here, what was it, last week, and did the open mic. And there's certain things that comedy clubs I feel like should do and don't. One of the things that I wanted to applaud you on is the video. Most comedy clubs, I'm like, why don't you guys have your own video? And you know,
my video is actually degraded right now. I had 3 cameras, but 2 of them burned out, and I haven't fixed it. Now I only have the one. But I have a live switcher in the back, so I can give you like, if you walk the stage, I give you a wide shot,
different
and
angles.
You're standing middle like a thing. If you get a big laugh, there's a camera in that corner that gets the over-the-shoulder audience reaction, and I would live edit shows.
That's awesome. But even just the one straight ahead, though. Even that
one straight ahead always works.
So
I make sure I have.
My question for you, since you seem like a tech guy, where do you see yourself in the future where it's adding in tech as well? Because some clubs have this old idea where I'm like, hey man, I can come podcast with you guys and do this and they're like, why would I do that? And I'm like, why wouldn't you do that?
You know, like we've had on our list of things to do because just haven't gotten to it. We were going to do a show called Comedy Vinyl, right? And you can see I've got like about 40 or so classic comedy albums out there. And we were going to bring a young comic in, like a middle-aged comic, and me. I'm an old guy, right? And pull an album off the wall, talk a little bit about the history of the comic, drop a needle, and say, how does that play today? Who does that remind you of?
Right.
What influences did that comic have? What people did that comic influence? Could you tell that joke today? That joke used to be considered risque in 1963. Today, it's nothing.
Par for the course.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So there was more of a comedy history podcast, and we want to try to. I might eventually get around to doing this.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Especially because the wall that you have, or the records they have up. I mean, it does immediately let you know if you're new to this club. It's like, okay, this is a place that values and reveres comedy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We have comics here all the way back to the 40s.
Yeah,
and some names you probably never heard of.
And it's also a great message to the comics that walk in too. It's not just the patrons; it's the comics who understand. Like, hey, man, this is a place of where this art is actually protected. You know, and we want to keep it good.
Yeah. No, like I said, I'm a comedy junkie. I'm a comedy snob. I demand quality. You know, I'm happy to work with comics. Young comics come ask me questions about their set. I'm happy to give some advice, get them going. We actually started doing comedy classes recently. Are we doing our first one? We did a short one. We did a one-day seminar on how to be a good host, right? Because a lot of comics think they can host. They might have good material, but the hosting is its own skill. Yeah. So we brought the king of hosts, Tony Sparks, to teach how to be a host, right? And now Miles Weber is doing the Tight 5 show. Next month we're doing a kids comedy workshop, kids 8 to 12, and they're going to do 3-minute sets and then do a showcase for them.
That's cool.
There's a women in comedy workshop with Priya Guyadeen and about a half a dozen other Bay Area women comics who are doing both a performance and seminar about women in comedy. That happens like the day after International Women's Day, I think it is. We're going to be doing an improv workshop, things like that. So Saturday is now a comedy school day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 3 to 5 every Saturday.
There you go.
Different shows, different comics doing different things. Yeah.
My main man, Big James, comedian Big James. Get up on.
In my opinion, podcast. My opinion, podcast. All nine niggas. All nine.